Humans were fairly new to the galactic stage at the point of the dispute about planet X-23A. This planet had been claimed by two different species, the humans and the Goth. The Goth were a fairly old species, but extremely militaristic. The Goth were strange in that they were a hive mind, not exactly uncommon, but they had multiple queens who ruled with a sort of democratic system amongst each other. The humans were different from what we had heard of them, although it wasn't much. They were very secretive. They wore bulky suits and rarely ever took them off. In fact, human space was heavily quarantined for being a very deadly environment. It seemed that we Hawks could live there if we wanted to, as long as we were in gravity suits to help compensate for the crushing gravity. The humans also shared our body shape, more or less, being bipedal and having a head on the top of their body. They sounded similar enough to us, but a lot smaller. We had been invited on the behest of the Goth to talks on what should happen with the planet. I think they thought we would side with their claim because of our long-standing trade connections and the fact they were part of the alliance that freed our species from what we called the abductors. Since then, we had risen to be the most powerful and technologically advanced species in the whole galaxy. The human ship is requesting to dock, one of the men said. Tell them to dock in Shuttle Bay 9. Their ship is small enough to get in there. The Goth had already arrived and were actually docked on the side of our ship, the Hero, and were impatiently waiting in the conference room. I took the turbo lift to the conference room. Unfortunately for us, we would have to keep on spacesuits to breathe as we had flooded the room with gases and placed a wall to divide the room into two so two gases could be used, which we were not accustomed to, although the humans came close but with far too much oxygen. I stood in the room with the Goth ambassador. "Many suns," he said, a Goth standard greeting. He looked as if he was staring off into the distance, and I knew I was talking to one of the hive minds directly. "Greetings, Your Majesty," I replied. He simply grinned. The hive mind must have found this amusing and turned away. Then the humans came in. They wore their armor, each with a different symbol on their shoulders and different colors on the armor. I thought these symbols looked oddly familiar. "Hello," one of the humans said. He had a deep voice which was exaggerated, no doubt by his suit. "I am the representative of the European Union. This is the representative of the British Solar Empire, the North American Union, and the Russian Space Federation," he said, pointing to each in turn. Why had they sent 4 representatives, I wondered. Maybe they were still a nation-state species. The talks began. The humans seemed oddly cunning, reminding me of our own species. Indeed, I couldn't see their faces, and they couldn't see my own, which made it hard to read facial cues. However, whenever I threw some political nonsense that only ever applied to these situations at them, they seemed completely versed in it, as if border disputes were a regular occurrence to them. "I'm sorry to interrupt," I said, "not really," as the human in a red suit from the British Solar Empire had been rambling on about border laws flawlessly. "But you can remove your helmets. We had specially conditioned the atmosphere in your room to be similar to your own world." They looked at each other. "We would prefer to keep them on," the North American Union representative said. "I insist," I said back. We did take a long time to sort it out. This was an utter lie. It took 10 minutes in reality, but we had been talking for 3 hours now, and I wanted even a small win. I was stunned by what I saw. "Look at me." The British Solar Empire representative had taken her helmet off. In fact, it was a she, but that wasn't what shocked me. They looked like us, nose in the right place, eyes in the right place, ears, mouth with pink lips, pale skin, and blonde hair. The Goth had seen it too. "What trickery is this?" he growled through his sharp, scaly snout. "These are your children, not the humans." "I'm sorry, what?" the EU delegate asked. "I can assure you this is no trick." "Crocodile," the Goth said angrily. He and his assistant got up and walked out. I knew this was bad. This was essentially one of their queens after all. The humans looked annoyed and were getting ready to leave. "Wait," I said quickly. "Would you mind waiting here for a while?" 30 minutes, one of them said, not looking too pleased. I practically ran down the halls towards the doctor's office. "Yoko," he smiled. What can I know time? I panted. Follow me now. We were both running until we got to another office titled Xenobiology. June, I said, follow me now. 3 of us were running, 2 looking very confused. The atmosphere in the conference room on our side had become habitable to us again as we walked in. For very shocked, very confused humans looked back at us. June and the doctor were stunned. They were looking at creatures that looked like us but the size of children. Galactic confusion sprouted. 2 species living in space shouldn't look anything like each other, but here we were, nearly identical in all but size. Then the truth seeped out. When our historians saw the humans and the logos that looked all too familiar, they were us, or rather we were them. They were who we once were. The abductors had taken us from Earth before spaceflight had begun to take root. Their flags were the old emblems of freedom in our textbooks of prehistory. We had gained FDL whilst they fought their first World War. We had taken our position as the major power in the galaxy when they landed on the moon. Time and space changed our size and decompressed our skeletons, but we were practically the same. But Homo sapiens were different. They advanced at impossibly fast speeds after we gave them advanced FDL. A human alliance was made that reshaped the galaxy. Oddly enough though, the issue over X-23A never got resolved.